Hey, my name is Shelly, and this is my bi-weekly wrap-up. Do you ever have one of those days where nothing works out and you break something and you spill the milk and everything just is not working out? I'm having one of those days, so bear with me. We are here to talk about my bi-weekly wrap-up. It's been 2 weeks since my last wrap-up and I read a lot. This trend is probably not going to stick because June is looking out to be a very busy month, so I'm probably not going to be able to get to as much books as I want to. But, you know, here's hoping. So the first book that I finished is Magic Bleeds by Ilona Andrews. This is like a new obsession. This series, I just cannot express how much I'm absolutely loving this series and I'm having such a fabulous time with it. And I'm so pleasantly surprised by the writing in this. And I'm not saying that that's surprising that, you know, an urban fantasy has good writing. I'm just surprised by how much I absolutely adore these characters. And the dialogue in it is just, oh, it's so good. It's so good. Like, that's all I have to say. It's so good. Can't say much about this book because it is the fourth in the series, but this book in particular, I feel is when the series really takes off. The plot is getting more intricate, more interesting, more secrets are being revealed. Obviously, we still have each book is very episodic. We're dealing with a different mystery, but the overall story is getting so good. I want to consume this entire series, but I'm taking my sweet time because I am listening to the, what's it called? Where basically you have a full cast of characters playing all the, it's good. It's so good. It took me a little while to get used to it, but once I got used to it, I'm like, I cannot listen to an audiobook in any other form. And the audiobook narrator that does Kate Daniels, she is forever Kate Daniels. But unfortunately, they haven't done all of the books yet. I'll read up to the abridged audio version and then pick up the rest of them with my eyes. If you like Dresden Files, if you like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, if you're a fan of that, I highly recommend it. But also, if you do love the, what's it called? The Sarah J. Maas urban fantasy. If you like the Crescent City series by Sarah J. Maas, I highly recommend checking this out because it does have good banter. And honestly, anybody who knows I'm not a Sarah J. Maas fan, the banter in this is so good. Some authors, they try to write the opposite sex. It comes off wrong. Like either if a female is writing a man, he comes off as too dominating, too controlling, or if a man tries to write a female, you know, it doesn't translate as well. So because of this is a husband and wife duo team, I feel like it just makes the series all that much better. So yeah, highly recommend it. I believe I gave this 4 stars and this is the first in the series that I gave a full 4 stars to. The next book that I got to was Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. This is my first T. Kingfisher book. Why can I not say T. Kingfisher? And I've heard a lot about this author from Booktube, and I've seen these books and these beautiful covers everywhere. I know that the author is more like on the horror side, so I definitely see this in this book. This book was really, really hyped, I would say about a year ago, and because of that, I've been really eager to pick it up, and finally I did pick it up, and it is quick. It's a tiny little book, so it's a nice quick read, and it is a dark fairy tale. If you like that type of fairy tale where it's following an unassuming princess that she's like on a mission to save somebody, I highly recommend this book. But it is incredibly dark, incredibly I wouldn't say gothic. It's just creepy. It's creepy. And there's a lot of lovable characters, and the dialogue is really quick-witted and smart and sassy, and I loved all of that. But personally speaking, I generally love watching fairy tale stories. I don't like reading them. For whatever reason, my brain's just like, I didn't fully get immersed in this book. But the writing is absolutely great. The world was so vivid, so well done that I cannot deny that it is a very good book. It's just the topic wasn't for me. And there's nothing wrong with that. But with that said, I think this would be a fantastic animated movie. I think I pitched this to a friend as like a Disney movie, but written and directed by Tim Burton. Overall, I gave this about 4 stars. It wasn't a new favorite, and I was kind of bummed about that, but I still really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend it to anybody, like especially if you like dark fantasy or like more like a kind of creepy vibe. I highly recommend checking this out. Plus, it's a quick read, so I mean, you can't go wrong with quick reads. The next book that I picked up and finished in the last 2 weeks is Bloodbound by Patricia Briggs. This is the second book in the Mercy Thomas series. This is technically a soft DNF, so I picked up from where I left off, I think in October, when I was doing a urban fantasy reading blog. So yeah, I DNF'd it then, so I picked it back up. I really didn't need to reread it because it was just, it's not complicated. There's not a lot you need to remember. So this is essentially what an urban fantasy really is about. It reminds me so much of True Blood, the show, and also the Sookie Stackhouse books that the show was based on. Not really the writing style, but the world for sure. I like this book more so than Sookie Stackhouse because I feel like Sookie Stackhouse is an extremely annoying character. But I do like this world. In this, we're following a shapeshifter. She is not a werewolf. She's a shapeshifter, and she shapeshifts into a coyote. But she's kind of falls in line with a werewolf pack. I believe they're called packs. But there's werewolves, there's vampires, there's fae, there's all sorts of like mythical urban fantasy creatures in this, and every book is more like the same kind of episodic mystery. So if you're into that, I highly recommend checking it out. With that said, I liked this, but if I had a choice between this and Kate Daniels, I would pick Kate Daniels hands down because I love the characters. And although Mercy Thomas is growing on me, she's not a favorite. So I think I gave this 3 stars because it was okay. Sorry if the angle changed. Someone was at the door, so had to get that. Okay, so where was I? So the next books I want to talk about are books I'm kind of in the middle of. Maybe DNFing. We shall see. So the first one I want to talk about is Of Darkness and Light by Ryan Cothill. This is the second book in the Bound of the Broken, and I'm not having the best time with this book. I wanted to love this book so badly, and I don't. I'm not a big fan of multiple POVs, and I'm not talking about like 3 or 4. I'm talking about like 10 plus POVs. I don't like stories like that. I generally feel like it takes away from the story, but honestly, it depends on the story and the author. Song of Ice and Fire is one of the exceptions to the rules where I did find that worked really well. But where you're constantly being introduced to new characters every single chapter, or you're head hopping from different characters in like the same scene, it's not for me. I just find that I never really fully get connected to the story. I never get connected to the characters, because at the moment that we're sitting with a character, it'll be like, boom, next character, next scene, next story. And honestly, I can't even begin to count how many storylines there are in this story. And the other complaint is there's a lack of female POVs. It's all males except for one, and maybe that changes through the story, but as of right now, in the middle of the second book, there's only one female POV and like a dozen male POVs. And honestly, and there's one storyline that I really like, and one story I'm okay on, and the rest I don't care. And every time I pick it up, I'm not interested. For me, it kind of takes away from it, but I do agree that the writing is incredible. He is a very good author. He has a vision, and you can see that this vision is grand. Because I am reading this with Taylor from Made Between the Pages, we have decided to give it to mid-June, I believe, to complete it. And I will give myself up until that point to decide whether or not I want to continue or not. So that's where that stands. And the next update is the 12 Kings in Shirakai. I am probably I'm at page 40 right now, and I'm listening to the audiobook. I'm having a similar experience with this that I was with Of Darkness and Light, and maybe it's because I shouldn't be picking up 2 very thick, dense, detailed books at once, but this book is incredibly detailed. I'm talking a Wheel of Time. I'm talking of like Robin Hobb detail, where every single scene is laid out. It's very beautiful. It's very well written. So well written. But sometimes there's so much detail that the story kind of falls behind the detail of the environment or the characters. And because of that, I find that I would start losing interest midway through a chapter, or I would have to re-listen to a chapter because I just zoned out. But I do love this book, and I love the world building. Oh, it's just incredible. The world that this author has created is incredible. I would say his name, but I butcher it every time, so I am not going to. That's the author's name. Obviously, you can tell by the cover, it is desert setting, and we are following a young character named Cheda. Cheda is on a mission of revenge. Something happens in her past and she is out to get blood, and this is her story. This is her story of how she starts her quest to get revenge. The magic system is just so good, and there are ships that they use to get across the desert. Like, I just absolutely love that little detail about it. I do think I will continue on with the series. I just maybe take a break from it, read some other stuff, and then pick it back up. So yes, this is where it stands. So I'm a little bit over, I think it's 60% right now. So I do plan to finish it. I highly recommend this series for people who do love that dense, rich, detailed world building. I think that you should really check this book out. Final update is The Final Strife by Sarah El-Efari. I feel like I butchered that completely. This was picked up on a whim because the audiobook came through my library, so I was like kind of in between books, kind of figuring out, and it just popped up at the right time. So I'm like, you know what? Why not? It's a sign. So I picked it up, and I don't regret it at all. I absolutely love this book. I think I'm only at the 10th chapter right now. Like I said, I'm listening to the audiobook. I will be returning this copy because I realized that the third and final book for the series is coming out soon, like in a month or two, and it's a hardcover. And I'm very impatient when it comes to waiting. I like to have the book in my hand. I found a hardcover on book outlets, so that will be coming soon. So I'm just going to collect the hardcovers because they are beautiful as well. In this world, everybody is born with different types of blood. So I think there's blue blood, there's red blood, and there's clear blood. And depending on what type of blood you have certain abilities, certain magical abilities. So obviously there is one blood that is like the best blood, and that is, I believe, red blood. Blue is middle class, and clear is like, they're the slaves. Okay, so I don't want to give too much away, but so far in this book, we have two main characters. There's one who is kind of like higher up and, you know, living in higher society, and one who is living in lower society. I absolutely love the characters. These two characters, they're so different from each other. They both have their issues, like major issues. The talk of addiction in this book is just handled so incredibly well. I honestly have no idea where this story is going to go. There is a bit of a competition in this, but the way that it's handled, it's very interesting, and I'm very engaged in it because usually I don't like competition books. But so far, I'm absolutely having the best time with it. I do like the audiobook, but I think I might continue the second book and the third book eyes only because I feel like I might enjoy it a little bit more. And I highly recommend it to people who do like want to search for like new fantasy, that are looking for something a little bit darker, a little bit edgier, more grown up, dealing with more grown-up themes. If this keeps going the way it is, I anticipate this to be a 5-star read, but I guess we'll find out in my next update. Okay, so that was my bi-weekly wrap-up. Comment down below, let me know your thoughts. What are you reading? Have you read any of the books that I've read? Let me know your thoughts. And if you don't have anything to say, maybe leave a knife emoji for Final Strife. All my links are down below, including our Buddy Read Discord. It's a small community, really inviting, highly recommended. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a fabulous day. Bye!